Now we're going to take a trip through the quantum realm where we join Kabi and Gabe, who are reviewing Loki Season 1.
Hey everybody, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kabi.
And this week we're reviewing Loki Season 1. Now for anyone who doesn't know, Loki was a DC Plus television show coming out in 2021, and it's all about Loki and the TVA working to try and solve some murders that are happening across time and the multiverse, and it starts bringing in and setting up a lot of things for Phase 4 and 5 of the MCU. Kabi, Loki is a show that doesn't work unless our main character, Loki, obviously, isn't played well. So first off, what do you think of Tom Hiddleston's role in this?
I think he did a great job playing Loki.
Okay.
It was definitely a different Loki than we're used to seeing because
For sure.
he's not like completely evil anymore, right? Like he's like learning more through the TVA and everything's sort of going on. So it's like he himself goes through some sort of character development, which I always love to see with the supervillains and all that.
Yeah.
So I think he did a great job playing his role as someone that's going through this sort of change per se, because what they learn is a lot. It's not something normally like this whole the time variance and like what's going on and everything. So I think he perfectly played the role of what a Loki should be doing during this time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So for context, this is not the Loki that we saw in Thor Ragnarok. This is Loki pulled out of the time stream after the 2012 Avengers part of Avengers Endgame. And so he's still that Loki who's an arrogant asshole. He's a prick. And we really see it in the first couple of episodes with the way he's treating these TVA employees. There's a moment where they have like an entire drawer full of Infinity Stones. And the guy's like, oh yeah, use these as paperweights. And he's just like reveling because in 2012 Avengers, all he wants is one of the Infinity Stones.
Right.
So I thought that was a really cool moment. But I think it works really well because the fact that, Loki is a rookie at doing all of this, it sets up moments where this plot that could be really complicated, it's set up organically, like how it would be explained to a real-life rookie at this. And I really appreciate that because we all hate exposition dumps. Now, the person who's training him to do all of this is played by Owen Wilson. He's Mobius. What did you think of how he did in this?
I thought Mobius was a very interesting character per se. I liked how Mobius was willing to take the time to work with Loki because, the way Loki was treating everyone, like he thought he was better than everyone and, that this is just a waste of his time and he wanted to go back to his home time stream sort of thing. I mean, it would have made sense for anyone to just, get rid of him and, do whatever it was. But he really wanted to see, use Loki in a sense to try to help with whatever mysteries have been going on recently. So I thought, it was just a very interesting character. It's a very fun character. I enjoyed Mobius a lot. I thought he was a great addition to the TV show.
Yeah, I saw Owen Wilson come on a Marvel show, and I went, wow! As you do when you see Owen Wilson. I think he did really well. It starts off as kind of this mentor-mentee thing, but by the end of the show, we're kind of getting a buddy cop sort of dynamic, and I'm really excited to see that further explored in Season 2. But there's a couple more things we're going to have to explore in Season 2, because towards the end, we get to see the big bad of the MCU, Kang the Conqueror. But he's not Kang the Conqueror. He is He Who Remains. And it's the first time we got to see Jonathan Majors in the MCU. So just, what did you think of his role in that? Because he's not playing Kang. He's playing a completely different role. So what did you think?
So his character is a lot more like, I want to say fun, per se. It's like someone that's like, oh, he is the bad guy. Like he's the Wizard of Oz type, like the person behind the scenes.
The machinations behind the system. Exactly.
So I mean, I think when we first meet him, we kind of see that like he's gonna play a major role later on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hinting at that already, but he's like someone that's taking it very lightly per se, right? So you don't get the full scope of his power until whatever happens with him after with Loki, Sylvie, and Kang, basically.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a very interesting take on Kang for now. But obviously that role will change much later when you watch Ant-Man, the new Ant-Man movie, which I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, so I did see it yesterday, and I think rewatching and seeing He Who Remains really shows off Jonathan Majors' range as an actor. Because in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, he plays Kang the Conqueror as kind of a Shakespearean villain almost. There's a line where he's like, destiny is not, it doesn't just happen, it is forged. And like he's this very like prosaic type of person. But when he's playing He Who Remains, he kind of feels snaky, is how I describe him. Like he has seen everything. He knows what's going to happen if he dies. And he's trying to explain it to Sylvie, who we're going to dive into, and Loki. and it's really compelling because in a way you start knowing he's right, and you're like telling them like, hey, don't kill him. You don't know what's gonna happen. But we talked about Sylvie. Sophia DiMartino plays female Loki, who is also Tom Hiddleston's love interest, which it's so weird. I don't like it. When they kiss in a scene, and it's Loki kissing himself, and I mean he's an egotist, so sure, but it still feels gross. I personally felt icky afterwards. Yeah. But regardless of that, what did you think of how Sophia DiMartino did playing Sylvie?
I mean, she portrayed Sylvie as who the female Loki was supposed to be, right? You know, someone that's super powerful, super strong, wanting to do whatever it takes to get her goal at the end. I mean, she was a little cunning, you can say, because her and Loki, you would think that they had like some sort of relationship going, like you know, in the last couple of episodes, they seem to be like wanting to work side by side to try to figure out whatever's going on. But then at the end, it really like kind of showed off her side as, you know, she wanted to kill off, you know, he who remains.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it just the way she played the role. I mean, it was a cunning, smart Loki that was willing to do whatever it takes. She played that role as best as she could, and really made for an engaging Sylvie, in my opinion.
So I really disliked her, but in an intentional way. Like, I disliked the character, and that's because the actress did a really good job of playing her as just someone you don't like. She's impulsive. She's a snake, and she is Loki, and like it is her fault that the universe is unraveling. So we're supposed to dislike her. So I think Sophia DiMartino does a really good job of being this natural heel. This show, like we said, deals with a lot of really complicated topics, but in a way that I felt accessible. And I think one of the reasons for that is the fact that it's written by Michael Waldron. If you don't know, Michael Waldron wrote a lot of the Rick and Morty, like the Council of Rick type of stuff. Okay. So he's very familiar with the Rick and Morty ideas. So what did you think of how he penned the show?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, they were going into different universes, so I could see that little, you know, Rick and Morty type of connection there. It was super sci-fi feel to it.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite shows.
Awesome.
I think from a lot of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, and you know, just apart from how he penned it, right? Just the overall show in general. Like, I mean, they came out with a lot of Marvel TV shows. It was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
It was a deluge of content.
Right. Yeah. It was a lot, right? But this one stood out the most. Loki, like, just the way it was filmed, the way it was written, just everything sort of, like, really made it for me and my friends. It was a great show that I cannot wait to see the second season of.
Interesting. Yeah. So, for me, I'm going to, you know, we're going to give it our ratings. I'm going to give Loki a low-key 8 out of 10. That pun was right there. I had to make it. I would say this is maybe the third best Marvel show. I've got WandaVision at number 1.
Of course.
And Moon Knight at number 2 with Loki right there. Really, really enjoyable. Love Tom Hiddleston in it. And I'm super excited for season 2 because we're finally going to start to get to see more TVA Loki with him being in charge. And I find that really interesting. Right. What are you going to give Loki from 1 to 10?
I'm going to have to give it like an 8.5 to a 9 because this show was really like, it really was one of my favorite shows that they've had. I mean, I agree with you. WandaVision, Moon Knight, and Loki are like just their own tier of Disney Plus Marvel TV shows. I can't rank them because I feel like they're all just amazing in their own ways. I mean, Moon Knight was its own great. WandaVision was extremely great. But yes, like I was saying, Loki, I cannot wait for this next season because, I mean, the cliffhanger that they left off, I mean, you don't really know what's going to happen now because it's like he knows what's going on, but no one else knows who he is. So, like, what's going to happen is really interesting for me to see where Loki kind of develops even more. So I can't wait.
Well, that's all from us. Well, let's go back to the studio.